relevance or otherwise of the National Youth Service Corps, given that the heightened state of insecurity has created doubts in the minds of a lot of Nigerians, or some Nigerians, who are actually saying, why do we have to continue with this program when some persons are being kidnapped, some coppers are being kidnapped, and importantly, government doesn't seem to be capable of getting those people rescued. They have good points. Those people who have expressed disconcerting opinion regarding the insecurity vis-a-vis the incapability of the government to get this challenge, security challenge, totally resolved. They are right. But they are very, very wrong if you want to premise your call for abolishing the National Youth Service Corps because of heightened state of insecurity. They are very wrong, because if you want to say, let us stop National Youth Service Corps because 10 coppers have been kidnapped, you see that it has a lot of fallacies. First and foremost, the NYSC is a program that was set up over the past about 50 years now, and the core objective of setting up the National Youth Service Corps is to foster integration among Nigerians. And the period that that scheme was set up historically was around when the Civil War just ended. That Nigeria was so divided that they needed to set up a body that will enhance national integration, foster national integration, and enable people from the different parts of the country to travel to other parts of the country to get acquainted with the cultures that they are not very used to, so that when you talk about fatherland or motherland, Nigerian nation and the rest of them, it will inculcate in Nigerians, the young Nigerians, that passion, that love for their country. And that salient objective, you cannot sweep it off the ground on the basis of heightened insecurity. The reason why it is not logically arguable that because there's insecurity, we should end NYSC is because if you want to say we should end NYSC, then we should end government. Because there's insecurity, you don't go arguing that we should end NYSC. We should rather be saying, let us end government, so that we will know that Nigeria is a country that is not governed. It's not possible. You cannot have a country that is not governed. It's not possible. So it's not also logical to argue that because coppers are being kidnapped, we should end NYSC. There are a lot of implications if that is adopted. First and foremost, the number of Nigerian youngsters that are absorbed every other time, in those days, when you don't have a lot of tertiary institutions in Nigeria, the number of coppers that are being produced every year were very minimal. When I had the first experience of being taught by a copper was in 1982, when I was in Form 1 secondary school. The coppers we had at that time, our school, secondary school was very big. You have over 5,000 students, and you have coppers, maybe like 3 or 4 coppers. Coppers were very rare. You don't even get to see coppers. Coppers were like special people. If you have a copper in a school, like where I went to school, the responsibility of a copper who teaches in the school, the responsibilities are enormous. Then there are a lot of communities where you have primary healthcare centers in Nigeria where you don't have general hospitals, because general hospitals are places where you must find a resident doctor. But a lot of primary healthcare centers you have all across the country, I don't think there's any primary healthcare center. Maybe the one that is run by very rich patrons. Otherwise, all the primary healthcare centers I have seen in the villages of, for instance, Imo State, Kaduna State, I'm talking of states that I know very well, or Suleja, Niger State, primary healthcare centers in those villages, you don't get to see doctors. Doctors come like visiting doctors. They come like once in a very long while. But when you post NYSC doctors, because NYSC doctors are qualified doctors, NYSC lawyers are qualified lawyers. Because if you're going to send, before a doctor will accept to be, go for youth service, the person must have graduated from the medical school as a doctor. Some of them will opt to do their housemanship, which will give them additional experience, or some of them will just go and do youth service, then come back for housemanship. But most of them, about 98% of doctors that I know that are in Nigeria, that are produced in Nigerian medical faculties, usually do their NYSC after they graduate from housemanship, meaning that the doctors that you find, corporate doctors, are not inexperienced doctors. They are doctors that have already gone through the rudiments of the trainings, physical trainings, practical trainings that are needed for doctors. And some of these doctors are posted to rural areas. Most doctors you find in rural areas all across the country are usually coppers. These coppers do a lot of work. Coppers that are doctors do a lot of work that specialists that work in big hospitals like National Hospital in Abuja cannot even do. They won't agree to do it because no doctor, a specialist in Abuja National Hospital, will agree to go to Kabanchan. It's not possible. They will not go because, first and foremost, even if you're going to pay the person 10 million naira per week, the person will not want to go to a rural place where you will lack certain social facilities. Some of them may not even accept to go there because they don't have clubs. They don't have nightclubs to attend. They don't have beautiful girls around. There are other social benefits that you can get from where you work that some of these doctors that are in urban areas cannot accept to go. But coppers don't have a choice. When they are posted to those places, they go and they offer very, very, very wonderful services. So if you're saying NYSC, you're saying most of those services that Nigerians are given for absolutely free should be stopped. Then secondly, on the part of national security threats, you remove 300,000 young people that are being mobilized every year, that have been engaged for 1 year, and these people are sent to places where they receive minimal benefits, even if it's very small, but at least they have a place they always report, and they have opportunities to even learn 1 or 2 skills. If you're saying stop it, which means you're saying throw 300,000 young Nigerians to the unemployment market perpetually. So, and if you calculate 300,000 every year, you calculate 5 years, you know how many hundreds of thousands of young people don't have job. And already we're talking about the involvement of young people in advanced field fraud. And I said now saying, allow young people who are educated, because no matter how you want to pass through university system, even if you are giraffing, each time that you write the exam, you giraffe from the next person. Even people who giraffe and they manage to graduate with bachelor degrees or HND qualifications, they are educated. It takes a sharp brain to giraffe. So you don't put people who are educated out of job completely. You just block the opportunities, all opportunities for employment. They just say, well, we don't have youth service to go to for 1 year. Well, this is a very nice period for me to press my computer, get some people I can dupe, collect money. There will be a lot of crimes, sophisticated. The young people don't need to carry a gun any longer to even do any crime. All they need to carry is a laptop. And I can tell you that even 100 EFCCs cannot adequately enforce the law against advanced field fraud if you stop NYSC. Apart from other organized crimes that certain people, when they don't have a place to go, because the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So there are a lot of security implications. Then let me go straight to the main point so that at the end of the day, our project director will send you the statement so that you have all the. Let me just give you the key points. First and foremost, the call for to end NYSC doesn't make any logical sense from the angle of insecurity, because insecurity is not generated by NYSC. It's not NYSC that started insecurity, and NYSC has been there even when Nigeria wasn't having this kind of insecurity. I told you of when some of us went to secondary school in the 80s, insecurity, even there was nothing like insecurity in the 80s. There was nothing, I can tell you. Some of you who were born in 1990 something, 2000 plus, most of you that sit down here, most of you sitting down, particularly the ladies here, most of you were just 1990. So if you ever had the opportunity of growing up in the 1980s, you know that there's nothing like insecurity, because in the 1980s when I was in, I started driving when I was in SS1. I was driving all the way from Kamanchan to Maiduguri, myself, a little boy. I would drive, we would just corner one car of, a car of one of our friends' fathers who have a car, we just corner one of them. Me that know how to drive, or some other person that know how to drive, we just jump into the car, we just drive and go as far as Maiduguri from Kamanchan and come back. The same day or the next day, nothing will happen to you. So you understand? So NYSC was there, then there was no insecurity. So are you now saying we should end NYSC because of insecurity? What if insecurity is resolved the next day? That is not even what Nigerians should be talking about. Nigerians should do the relevant things, say the right things. Why do you have insecurity? You have insecurity because those who are supposed to solve insecurity are benefiting from insecurity. Insecurity, terrorism is a franchise for heads of security institutions. So even if you want to stop NYSC, it is not going to stop insecurity. It's not going to stop insecurity. In fact, you are creating more avenues for those who are actually sabotaging our national security to make more money. Because you now have a lot of sophisticated brains, not Boko Haram, that may not even know how to do one or two things. Boko Haram will have to learn like for years to learn how to build a bomb. A graduate, if you want to learn how to build a bomb, a graduate will take like less than 2 days to learn how to do it. So you have a lot of bomb makers all over the place. Nigeria is not going to be safe. So nobody should even talk about taking off NYSC because of insecurity, because there will be more insecurity. So the only way to stop insecurity is to remove saboteurs that are within the military, within the police, within the DSS, within the immigration, within the customs, those who allow guns to come into Nigeria unchecked, those who steal weapons from the army, from the police, from the DSS, and sell to terrorists. These are the people you should get out of the system. And thank God, we're even doing this press briefing when just a day after this day published a groundbreaking story. This day had that story, you know, I think today, Gaiden ran a small part of it, building it off of what this day wrote. This day interviewed a former GOC, General Officer Commanding. You know, it takes a lot of experience and a lot of time for a soldier to become General Officer Commanding. So the former General Officer Commanding First Division, the most significant GOC in Nigeria, which is Kaduna, because Kaduna is where you have 45% of all our weapons are in Kaduna State. I'm talking about 45% of all the military weapons that you have in Nigeria. Once any country captures Kaduna, they have captured Nigeria, because that's where everything is. And yet you have terrorism there. That tells you that those who are heading those military institutions are part of the terrorists. Because if terrorists are able to penetrate certain places, even NDA in Kaduna, and bomb and do certain things, I think the other bomb NDA, something happened in NDA recently. They were able to penetrate NDA. It means you get the terrorists from the NDA, they're there. So you don't end NYSC because you want to end insecurity. Then, let me jump to the next aspect. NYSC, on her own part, has constantly told coppers. Luckily, we have a lot of immediate coppers that just finished serving. Not this one by my right, and this one and the other one. I've just finished serving. They keep telling them all the time, don't embark on night journeys, which journalists often report in the press. But most of these coppers that are kidnapped are victims of kidnapping who decide to travel in the night. But you don't blame them for traveling in the night, because maybe that is the only way they can pay their way from Akwa Ibom to Sokoto. It will take you a whole lot of money if you want to travel by flight to go to Sokoto. You know, and NYSC, if you want to say stop NYSC, what you should be saying is create a fund for NYSC to be able to mobilize people to far distant places and give them adequate amount of money for their flights and not transportation by road. pending when insecurity is going to be resolved. But where in Nigeria is there no insecurity? So that is that. Then the third one is no responsible. I've said it. If you want to say close down NYSC because there's insecurity, you shouldn't be saying that. Rather, you should be saying close down government. Close down government because there's insecurity. That is the right call. It is the wrong call to say close down NYSC because there's insecurity. There's insecurity because those in government have violated their primary constitutional duty. The primary constitutional legal duty of anybody who is in government, governor, president. These are people who have, in fact, the president basically, the governors are almost like they are not in charge in terms of security. But the president is totally in charge. So if the president refuses to stop insecurity, because he has all the might, all the powers, all the law backing him to stop insecurity, it is the president you should be saying, resign, and not to say, close down NYSC. What are you closing down NYSC for? Close down NYSC, insecurity will still be there. Then the one, so that we don't do a lot of lecture here. Yeah, there's also this allegation that some of the people championing the call for an end to NYSC are actually people who didn't do NYSC. That has to be looked into. Yeah, I've also said the other aspect of the security, national security threat, if you close it down, because there will be a lot of Nigerians, young Nigerians who do not have employment opportunities. Rather, what we should be talking about, Nigerian media, CSO, and the human rights organizations, what they should be talking about is how to enhance the services that are given to young Nigerians by the NYSC, and our organization is in support of the call for the passing of the law. The law has been passed. All that is left is for Mr. President to just sign it. And Mr. President has not signed it. I don't know why. There is a law in the amended Constitution. I don't know if it's part of this our Constitution that we have. Some of these copies that we have are old copies. There is a section that was amended that if the President does not pass a bill that has been passed by the two chambers of the National Assembly and it gets to a certain amount of time, it automatically becomes a law. If that period, that law, a law setting up the NYSC Youth Trust Fund has been submitted to the desk of Mr. President, I think a few hours before the immediate powers government left. And Buhari refused to sign it, maybe apparently because he didn't have any serious education, so he's not very exposed, so he didn't sign it. But we expect somebody who went to a university in the US, who worked in so many important places like Tinubu, to have signed that law, that bill that is on his table, sign it, and make NYSC more funded, much more funded, in a way that not just funding for them to employ more workers, no. NYSC Youth Trust Fund is basically going to benefit corpers who are serving, or those who have finished serving, who have acquired skills, or who have skills that they can on their own start their own office. They don't need to carry long file and come to HURIWA to look for a job, or carry long file and go to FCDA, or go to Ministry of Environment to look for a job. When they have their own skills that they've acquired, particularly during the NYSC period, NYSC by law ought to grant them take-off funds. Take-off funds, grants. You give them grants for them to start off. If somebody has learned how to do bread, and the person is very, very good at doing bread, you have to give the person money to set up bakeries. That is what that law is meant to be. I don't know why that law has not been signed, and people are talking about closing NYSC. That is not something that anybody should encourage.
For updates.